You're listening to the Roma Miclat Show. Welcome to the Roma Miclat Show, and I want to thank you for listening to this episode. And please check out the past episodes and let me know your thoughts. But for today, I am with Patricia Buhril from Impel, India, and she was my guest in episode 36. Yeah, girl's back! Welcome back, girl! Welcome back,
Thank
Patricia.
you, Roma, for having me again. The last time was crazy and quite in-depth, I must say.
It's a good conversation, I would say. And we can't just stop there. We want more.
I definitely want more.
So yes, and now let's start this episode. So Patricia, do you sometimes feel that your voice is not heard, or you're not heard enough, as if no one is intently listening to you? Do you ever had that feeling?
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I'm sure everyone who is listening here is like nodding your heads with us, because we have spoken so much. Or it could be even the tiniest thing, like you being hungry, to you expressing your thoughts, and to you expressing yourself at work. And you just get overlooked, maybe because the other person doesn't think that you're important enough, or maybe because you haven't been assertive enough with your own thoughts and expressions. But I've definitely felt it from a much younger age, and I still continue to feel it even now.
And what do you do when you feel that? Like, how do you deal with it?
I think it started for me when I was younger, as a child, and I felt that my thoughts were not heard. And then I thought maybe my thoughts or my expressions were not interesting enough. But then I saw that even when I thought that they were interesting enough, they still weren't heard. And when that happened, I think that moved me into a phase of thinking about how to be assertive about what I want to express and what I want to say. So it grew with me. And I think it happens even now, but learning how to take space and not regretting for taking space,
Yes.
not regretting for expressing your thoughts. I think it starts there. And then learning how to be assertive and not aggressive, because aggressive has anger and it has other things that you're dealing with. And that's like another topic for another day. But assertively saying that this is my thought and I would like to discuss it if you all are open to it, or if you all would like to. And that changes person's outlooks on you. It could be any scenario, Roma. It can be in your family, amongst your friend circles, and especially at work.
Yes. I'll be honest, I get emotional and a little tad dramatic whenever I feel that I'm not heard. Because in my defense, when someone, especially close to me, like a friend or a family member, would open up, I am the type of person who would give my full attention and make sure that I listen to what they say and what they're trying to tell me, regardless if that's a problem, a new purchase, a happy moment, or what, because I know what it feels to be ignored. And I hate that feeling. So I don't want to be the person, and I don't want these people to feel the sadness, especially that it comes from me. I am the source of that sadness. Like you said, being ignored, it happens. It happens to everyone. And I guess the expectation is there, and I admit that's on me, definitely. And they say that, not caring is actually a life skill. And that is so true. But it just happens that it's not my personality. Because I care like a Care Bear, But I agree with you. It's important to address this, because it happens. And sometimes we tend to shove our feelings, but sometimes you have to be heard. You have to say, hey, please listen to me.
Absolutely. I agree with you. And I'm so glad that you said that that's your personality, because you are being aware of yourself. And for everyone who's listening here, I think it would be a great thing to find out what is your personality. Am I the kind of person who is being narcissistic and being self-absorbed? Because there is a fine line. Are you being narcissistic and you want everything to be about me, 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 me? Or is it
Yes.
something that like your idea can add value to the situation?
Mhm.
I think you really have to go back and assess what is your personality. See that if you are being dramatic for the sake of being dramatic, or you're
Mhm.
being dramatic to make a point. So there's a lot of
Mhm.
difference there.
Yes. If you're PMSing, then you're excused.
Of course.
But okay. But Patricia, did you experience personally felt that, in your personal circle, have you ever felt that you were ignored?
Absolutely. Sometimes I get ignored in my family because we have like we're three siblings at home,
Mhm.
and I'm the oldest kid. So naturally, I kind of get the most attention, but I've noticed my siblings get ignored more, like over me. And then when they started getting attention, I started getting ignored over them. And I think it's just a parenting technique that differs from household to household. So it
Mhm.
starts at home. And I think learning how to be assertive with your voice at home eventually helps you in learning to be assertive with your voice in your friend circle and eventually at work. I think the place where I felt ignored or my voice wasn't heard was mostly at the workplace, because
Yes.
your family is always loving and you also are forgiving towards them, because you're
Mhm.
like, I'm sure they understand, dad and mom have work, my siblings have work, try to be understanding as well. And
Mhm.
then that happens with your friend circle, because in your friend circle you choose your friends. So you start realizing, okay, these friends care about the way I feel, and then you kind of keep them in your friend circle. But at work you don't really choose who you work with. And
Yes.
oh, especially for my entry level friends who are listening into this show, please do not see your worth as someone who is not heard just because you started working, because it happens to all of us. When you are a newbie in the field, your
Mhm.
experience is nada.
Yes.
So
It's like, who
so
are you?
everyone,
Why are you giving me
yeah.
your thoughts? Who are you? You've been here like
Yeah,
what, a week?
exactly. Oh, you're the intern? Shut up.
Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly, right? I think that I just, you know, tell myself when I was just starting out or when I was interning that remember who you are and find opportunities where you can bring in your ideas or your thoughts. So, what I do is I write them down. And whenever I find an opportunity when there's silence and people are still thinking of what to say, I just quickly say, can I quickly share what I think? And before you actually get an affirmation from anyone, you just jump right in and give in your thoughts.
Just say it.
Yeah. And
I'm
you'll
saying
never
this out
regret
of
it.
respect, but I'm going to say it anyway.
Exactly. Oh, good old days. But yeah, I totally feel you if you are just starting out and you're not heard, even in school or college.
Mhm.
Your professors always have this kind of thing like, okay, these are the A plus students and these are the not A plus students. And if you
Mhm.
happen to be in any of those categories, you might find yourself being ignored at various levels. I think this is where going to a good school or having a good teacher matters, because
Mhm.
the teachers are supposed to work towards bringing everyone together. Like if you're loud, teaching the students how to listen to others, and if you're quiet, teaching the students to express themselves. So that's why group
Yes.
projects are important.
Yes. And not because they are not saying anything doesn't mean they don't have anything to say. Maybe they just need a little push. They might need to be asked, what do you think? Those types of people, because not everyone is as assertive or eloquent when it comes to, words. Well, for me, there are many times that I felt that people are intentionally ignoring me, but because sometimes
Yeah.
I also know that I can be a handful. But there are some people who are not subtle. Like they will let you see and let you feel that, okay, I am ignoring you. And then for me, it's a double whammy because it's from the people who are close to me. because again, Patricia, I live abroad. My
Yeah.
network is not so huge. I mean, I think that is also the reason why I love communities where I can reach people, because sometimes for some reason the strangers are more giving, or they are more appreciative of your efforts
Yes.
compared to your to the circle or the people that you really know, like families and friends. I mean, these are the things that I can say, because this is based on my experience. And I
Yeah.
can say that for how many times I've received compliments, I've received good words and kind words from people who I don't personally know. But those are
Mhm.
the things that I was kind of, again, expectation. I am expecting them from the people that I love. And
Yeah.
sometimes, you don't need a lot, but if it's from the people who really means a lot to you, like it's a family, it's your husband, it's your sister, it
Yes.
means a lot. It's from your best friend.
Hmm.
And I hate that. And I mean, even though they say like, no, girl, I support you all the way. But sometimes,
Yeah.
you have to hear it. And, in order to feel it, especially for us, like there's a distance, and now, a lot of things are going on
Yes.
around us, and we can be physically together. Like
Yeah.
for instance, when people say they support you, but they never really look, I mean,
Yeah.
they never really look at your works. Or in my case, for example, they
Mm.
never listen to my episode. I mean, how can you even say that you're supporting me? You don't even know my episode.
Exactly.
I'm like, girl, you lying. That's a lie. Or if you
I
have a
feel you.
business, right? Like,
Yeah.
you don't even buy or help you promote your business, your small business. I mean, that's the kind, or that's the part where it saddens me. And even though when you are actually asking them for a little help and promoting it right to their faces already, right? It was
Mm.
like,
Yeah.
hey, please support me. Hi, family and
Yes.
friends. I am self promoting here, but it's like crickets, crickets, crickets. No one is reacting.
I
And
feel you.
yeah, and I mean, when that happens, you get to ask yourself, am I invisible? Am I not saying this enough or loud enough that I need support? Do I
Mm.
really have to say, please hear me out, please help me? Because there's this famous quote, and it says, silence is also an answer. And I believe that. Do you believe that? Or
I
am
absolutely
I
believe
just
that.
overly sensitive here? Am I PMSing again?
No, girl. You are being
Yeah.
absolutely reasonable, and I agree with that saying. If they're silent, it means no. And I think
Yes.
we should take our energy somewhere else. I totally feel what you are saying, because when you're starting out, you are like, let's say, you're not nobody, but in the business, you
Mm.
are a nobody. You got to create yourself to be somebody, and you kind of expect your family and your friends to be there for you and
Yes.
promote you and support you, but they got their own things going on, and they're like, I'm not
Mm-hmm.
sure if I really want to do this. I totally feel you. And
Mm-hmm.
for me, I experienced that as well. They are supportive, but they're not like actively, posting about my
Mm-hmm.
business or telling people about it and like take her classes and things like that. And initially I was quite resentful about it, but I
Yeah.
realized that I need to take that energy somewhere else. Maybe I'm
Mm-hmm.
asking, I'm not saying that they don't care,
Mm-hmm.
but I also feel what you're feeling, because
Yeah.
I'm like, I think my family is taking me for granted, or I think my friends are taking me for granted.
Mm.
And here is where comes Mr. Negativity, and we don't want
Yes.
that.
Enters the room.
Yeah, with the drama and the cape.
Yeah. Talking about me? Huh.
Yeah.
Blank.
But what we don't realize here is that we decide whether Mr. Negativity stays or goes away. And that's when I started taking my energy somewhere else, investing
Mhm.
it in people who would actually be interested in it, which means going out
Yes.
there more, which can be scary. They could say no
Mm-hmm.
and they could say yes. But I really love what everyone says about opportunities and trying. It's like, if you don't try it, you'll never know, and that's regret,
Yes.
right? And we don't want
Mm-hmm.
regret. We want to try it all and say, hey, I did that, I've been there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but it does take a toll on us, and there are lots of encouraging affirmations on YouTube. You can also create your own affirmations and
Mm-hmm.
focus on those kind of things rather than focusing on the fact that I'm not being heard today. I'm
Mm-hmm.
not being felt today. My values or my opinions are not being taken seriously. It is our responsibility to just push that away and choose to make a change in our own attitude, you know,
Mm-hmm.
and say that, hey, I'm not being heard here, but I'll be heard somewhere else. I'm going to work on that.
Yes.
Like, look at you,
Yes.
girl. You heard me. And I was like, wow.
Yes. We hear each other. Yes,
Yes,
definitely. Yes.
absolutely. And the huge opportunity of you doing these podcasts, and now people are learning more about you. They didn't even know about you, and my circle of friends didn't know about you, but now that they know about
Mm-hmm.
you, you're going to get that, So it's about like where you're going to be heard. And one day you're not even going to need anyone to like promote you. It's just going to promote itself. It's going to be all
Let's
there.
claim that.
Yes.
Let's claim that. And also for you too, like your passion for Pilates and fitness, it started as, a personal thing. And now you are
Yeah.
doing collaborations with a lot of people all over the world. And I'm so proud of you.
Thank
And we never
you.
imagined that, even if sometimes in the past we got ignored, but hey, we are thriving in our own, space. And hopefully it branches out and, we get to reach more people because we only want positivity, right?
Yes, yes, absolutely. Going back to being assertive, that is important, but it's also good to analyze the situation. So when we look at the situation, we can talk about what are my thoughts? Is it
Mhm.
interesting enough? Is it valuable enough? Will it add value to the conversation or to the discussion? And work on how you can bring your voice out into the group. So this is particularly with the work setting. When you're a younger person, you've just started your work experience or you're interning, and your thoughts are not valued, you are not allowed to speak. I think it's also a good idea to write down your thoughts and maybe send it over to your boss.
Mhm.
These were some of my thoughts from the meeting, and I didn't have an opportunity to express it. And if you are serious enough about expressing those thoughts, I think that would be a great step to do. But with your friends, I think it's your family and friends, I think it's always good to have a time to express your personal opinion. Like, hey, mom and dad, or sis bro, I just, can I have a minute to talk to you? And letting your feelings out.
Mhm. And it's
It
not,
always
to
helps.
create friction or start a fight. Actually, it's just like you have a mature, adult conversation going on.
Yes, yes.
Mhm.
And you're never too young for that. You could be 10 years old, 12 years old, and you can do this. It works all
Mhm.
the time. I've seen children who come up and say, I would like to say something. And
Mhm.
you also realize that, hey, I haven't been giving my attention to this child to the point that they have to come out and say that. So, whoever's listening here, and if you've got a nephew or a niece or your kids, please encourage them to express themselves. Tell them that, hey, if I ever overlook, or if I'm not listening, or if you feel like I'm not listening to you, just come up to me and say, I want to say something. And that always
Mhm.
works.
Mhm. Wow, Patricia, you are so kind. I feel that I'm the bitch here.
Oh, trust me, honey. I've had my moments. I've had such. If you guys talk to my besties, you will know what mode I get on. Sometimes I would just be like, hello, am I like even existing here in this world right now? And yes, and they would be genuinely busy, but here I am, like, give me attention.
Oh my god! Because now I'm so conscious with my answer. Oh my god!
No,
Yeah,
don't.
people, you can judge me all you want. Oh my gosh!
No, don't be so hard on yourself, Roma, because we're all different. We are. And
Yes,
that's why the world is such an exciting place. Imagine if all
yes,
of us were like the same personality. That's going to be so boring. Super
yeah.
boring. It's
As if
just
you're
all of
manufactured from a factory, right? You have a
yeah.
certain, size and shape and all. Well,
Yeah,
for me,
exactly.
it depends on the situation or the circumstance. But again, sorry, I'm being a bitch here, but it's just two major things. It always ends up in two major things for me. Well, the first one is I say to myself that I talk to myself and say, hey, you know what? Don't overthink things. People are busy, they have their own things going on and everything, so it's not about us. That's how I psych myself.
Yes. Yeah.
Like, attention much, Roma, with the side eye. you know but when it happens, but then again, but if it happens a lot, like, you can really notice that I think this is happening a lot to me. I stop engaging, sometimes for a while, sometimes longer, a little longer, or sometimes I totally, stop and drop. Like you said, you create space because it's fine to create space. Like, that is the space for me. I stop engaging for a while. It's because I need to process things. I don't want to say hurtful things, so I'm gonna keep my space for now.
Mhm.
And because I have this big personality, and I know that I'm strong, I'm confident, but also I have this marshmallow persona in me, which is really, like, a paradox, really. And again, it makes it interesting because my husband is my total opposite. I call him the human plant. Because he's like a plant, he's got this constant reaction for everything.
Mhm.
Happy, sad, proud, it's gonna be the same face. He's not really huge when it comes to emotional stuff, so I guess in the relationship that's what keeps us balanced, because I'm
Yeah.
overreacting and he's underreacting. but of course he supports everything that I do,
Yeah.
and all. But sometimes when I don't feel the support, the wifey thing, it
Mm.
puts me in a position of self doubt. Actually, that's what I
Yeah.
wanted to say. That, when people around you, or when your friends, family, when you feel that you're not supported by those people, your friends and your family, it puts you in a position of self doubt. And can I just share, like, few weeks ago,
Please.
I
Yeah.
got too emotional about it, to a point
Oh.
that I cried. I cried. I cried while talking to him, and I really can't remember the exact reason. But I'm very sure it's really related to this podcast. And
Ooh.
I was really tearing up. I was crying and I was telling him I don't feel that I'm supported at all, because he didn't even listen to my episodes. I have him as a guest in two of the episodes, past episodes, and he didn't even listen to his own episodes. But then we had the conversation, and the conversation made him realize that this podcast is really important to me. So, again, like you said, you
Yeah.
try to engage with them, and tell them, let's have a talk. For the first time, I felt that he actually listened to me.
Oh.
For me, it's like finally he understood what I'm trying to say. I'm telling him and I'm asking him to please support me, but I'm not sure if I'm being so subtle, even if he's my husband. And I'm trying to ask him, tell me, how can I improve this? And how can he tell me to improve things when he is not even listening to any
Yeah.
episodes, right? So
Yeah.
that's why I felt that I was ignored for a while.
Mm.
So, yes, I would agree that even if it's a hard conversation, if it's an emotional
Mm.
conversation, you have to go through that
I'm
in
so
order.
glad that you did that because
Yes.
not only did you let out steam, you also built your relationship with your husband, and he
Mm-hmm.
realized that this is important for you. And
Yes.
I agree. I had the same thing with some of my family. They were like, that podcast was so long. I didn't listen to the whole
Yes.
thing.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes, yes, I know. That's why we're doing this shorter.
Yeah. Yeah. But what you said, I resonate with it so much because I was tempted to feel ignored, or you use the word self-doubt, doubting
Mm-hmm.
in myself, like, hey, maybe my story is not that important.
Mm-hmm.
And these are all negative vibes again. So it was important for me to sit down with my family or my friends and say, hey, I would appreciate it if you took the time, and maybe whenever you can continue it and listen to it and let me know what you
Mm-hmm.
think. Roma is a great person, and I was really open with her with my story. And that is how we were able to also understand each other. And they realized that broken barriers is important to me. And I was like, wow, good morning. It's broken barriers is going to be 1 year old here. And now you realize it's important to me. So you see?
After 365 days, finally!
Woo, woo. But seriously, I have done the whole crying thing, and I do it by myself. Everyone deals with it differently, right? Like, I don't really like break down and cry when I tell my close persons that I want some of their attention, or I would like if they supported me. But I do this with myself. Like I sit alone and I have like, it's sort of like an appointment, with my emotions. And I think that helps us mature as a person. So it's so important to analyze your situation and deal with them. Like there was this psychologist who said that you make an appointment at the end of the day, and you worry about everything for that day during that time. It helps you understand which ones were worth worrying about, because maybe you were overreacting about something. Like, see, when you're having a bad day, you spill like a small bit of coffee and you can cry. So
Yes.
is that it's happened to me?
Why is not everything going my way?
I know. Why did the coffee have to spill?
God, why? God!
Yeah, and I've been there. So I think then I realized that I was just unnecessarily emotional. Or you can think about why you were being unnecessarily emotional, and there could be underlying things that you haven't dealt with that would surface out at that time. Wow, this topic is deeper than I thought it would go.
Yes, it is. I told you, girl, it's gonna dig up some emotions. Okay, so we've come to the end of this episode, but before we close this, do you want to say anything to our listeners?
Absolutely. Hey, you guys, you are amazing. You are important, and you are wonderful. Never doubt yourself. Your emotions are valid. Your thoughts and your interests are valid, but analyze them. We don't want to be self-absorbed, but we want to be self-aware. All right. So
That's
be awesome.
beautiful. Self-aware.
Yes, self-aware. And I'm so glad, Roma, that you have all of these great, insightful podcasts, because we need this more than ever. We have the corona happening. People are getting like lower pay, or some are getting laid off. We're having difficulties paying rent, getting our favorite food. I mean, it could be anything. You not being able to get your Oreos is a deal. I promise you that,
I can sense the frustration here, Patricia. I can sense it here in Singapore.
It happens. And no frustration is too small. But yes, just a quick recap of whatever we spoke about. It is important to analyze. It is important to analyze whether what you are voicing out is an overreaction, or whether these points really need to be said and heard. And for those of you who are, searching for a job or new at work, be easy on yourself. Write down your thoughts, express yourself in words, edit your words, and submit it. I'm not saying that they're going to like suddenly elevate you and be like, wow, we're going to listen to you all the time. But that is your way of taking that space into your situation. It's hard, but you'll get there,
Yes, that's so beautiful. Thank you, Patricia. And well, for me, all I want to say is just continue with what you're doing. Pursue those plans. Do it with passion and let your voice be heard. Let them understand what you want to say, but at the same time, respect yourself. And you should know when to walk away, especially if it's too obvious that you are intentionally ignored.
Yes.
Yeah, that's important. Respect
so
yourself.
Important.
Yes.
And any of you who are here, I'm so sorry, Roma. If you are here thinking about that good for nothing boy or girl, walk away.
Yes. Walk, girl.
Do not let them have the upper hand.
Yes. Love yourself. We will have that in another episode.
Absolutely.
Yeah. But I just want to say, lastly, don't you ever shut up just because they refuse to listen. And at the same time, try to understand that the world does not revolve around us.
Beautifully said,
Yes.
Roma. I love that. The world does not revolve around us. We ain't the sun, honey.
Yeah. Yeah, honey. We ain't the sun. That's it. Oh my God. Wow. You know what? What an episode. Thank you for this, Patricia. Thank you so much. I enjoy this. And I hope that our listeners picked up something here. And, it's just the beginning because every Monday for the whole month of July, you will hear Patricia's
Mm.
voice on the show. Yeah.
Yes. Thank you, Roma, and thank you, everyone.
Yes. I want to say that July and August, but I might be pushing it too hard. So let's see, because I know Patricia is becoming more and more busy every day. So we will start with
Yeah.
July for now and see from there. So let us know what you think and send us your messages. And please follow Patricia's social media.
Yes, my social media is broken.barriers at Instagram, and on Facebook it is a Broken Barriers Fitness Studio page. So those are the ones I have right now. If you want to ask me something personally, you can write to me at brokenbarriersfitness@gmail.com, and I will get back to you guys.
All right. Thank you for that. And well, of course, you can find me on Facebook and Instagram at the Roma Miclat Show. And you can also send your emails or send us a message anywhere. The Roma Miclat Show at gmail.com. And of course, the podcast is on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and Anchor.fm. And that's it. We wish you a great week ahead. This is Roma.
And Patricia.
Until our next episode. Bye.